We have the same problems as the ancients. I wanted to make a video talking about this. It's mainly just something I've noticed, mainly from reading Stoicism, reading Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and Epictetus, men who lived over 2,000 years ago. The way they talk about life and the problems and, where people go wrong, it makes you realize that nothing about human nature, nothing about the way humans operate, nothing about what problems challenge us and face us, nothing has changed at all. 2,000 years ago, human beings were suffering from the same kind of envy, the same kind of focus on things they can't control, jealousy, falling in love and going crazy over it. It's all the same. We're not, today's day and age, there are a few things like technology that make, exaggerate some of our problems and make them worse. But life today is not much different than life was 2,000 years ago, or maybe even 3,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago. Not much about the way we operate has changed. And I think that's important because, number one, if the problem you have today probably isn't unique, meaning somebody else has had that problem before, and because billions of people have lived before you, someone's probably written about that problem. So the problem you're facing today, someone else has faced in the past, and there's a good chance they talked about how they conquered it, they wrote about it in a book or something, which is one reason why reading is so important, but I won't get into that right now. I mainly just wanted to emphasize how human nature has not changed over the past 2,000 years. There are the same kinds of toxic, parasitic people that were 2,000 years ago. There's the same kind of great people, like people like Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, who somehow came to the knowledge and came to the mindset that he should limit himself, that he should focus on his choices instead of, his physical fitness or, any of the other privileges that a Roman emperor had. The same kinds of people that existed so long ago still exist now. Nothing has changed. We have the same problems as the ancients. And this is so important to realize because there's so much knowledge that has been written down. So much wisdom that we think is irrelevant because we're new and we're modern. And that we're nothing like the people of the past. And it so isn't true. I think we've gotten a little better at hiding it nowadays. I think human beings are a little more secretive. I think our modern day human beings are a little more secretive. We're better at putting on masks. But we separate ourselves from the barbarians that we once were. And we're simply the same people. Deep down inside, we still have the same desires, the same instincts as we did so long ago. And we've gotten a better grip on it, but it's still pretty much the same. And so when you're I guess the main lesson about this, the main point of this video is when you're going about your life, understand that the people you're interacting with, they have the same feelings. They suffer from the same inadequacies, the same faults, flaws, and sins that people 2,000 years ago were. So thinking in that way can help you it can help change how you interact with people, how you look at them. If you're trying to get a read on somebody, if you're trying to understand the people around you, the environment around you, understanding that there's nothing new or unique about, how we operate today. It's the same kind of operations that happened so long ago. One of the biggest ways I realized this was Seneca was talking about how one of the best times to study is when everybody's off watching the Roman Colosseum games. When those big games happened with the gladiators and whatnot, everybody would flock over to the stadium and watch it and be distracted and, be cheering and all of that. Same thing happens today. At least in the South, with college football and all of that, everybody flocks to watch those games. Everybody, dropped whatever they're doing to go sit down and watch the TV show or to watch the game. That's just one big analysis that I put together. That's the example I wanted to bring forth was, 2,000 years ago, people were, addicted to watching the Colosseum games and would be, all over that. And today, we still have our own Roman Colosseum games, in big stadiums that everybody goes and runs to and watches and gets distracted by. So that's just one example of how nothing has changed. And I hope I was able to lay out what I mean by that and why it's useful to go about life. Just understanding that the people you're dealing with are still deep down the barbarians that once were, that we separate ourselves so much from. Another good analogy is, I think it's like we're 3 meals away from anarchy. Like, one of the main reasons why everybody's so civilized now is because, we have food, plenty of food and water and shelter and all of that, but all it takes is something to go wrong and then we're back to, being how we were. And it's not to say that people aren't better now. We've obviously improved so much. Human beings have improved, but deep down, everything's still the same. So just going about life with that knowledge, I have at least found to be empowering and useful. So I hope I was able to pass on that knowledge, and I hope you're able to find use with it too.